Michelle,
And Drew.
and we're here for another episode of the Hard Not Life podcast. It's been a minute.
It's been a long minute.
Yeah, it's really hard for us to try to gather schedules. I work nights,
I work during the day, so
and then we got two little ones, and that's a juggle.
that's a second job.
It's the first job.
Pretty
So,
much.
yeah, we're just happy to be back and take a moment to update you guys. And, it's been a little while, but so we just got through having our first date in like 2 years. It's been that long.
Sheesh.
Um, in 2020, we celebrated our 10th wedding anniversary.
I couldn't go nowhere.
We did go somewhere. We went to Rosenke.
Oh, that's right.
We went to an Airbnb in Rosenke, Texas, and it was really nice. And we actually returned there again this year. Just we were so exhausted. I don't think we really had the energy to do much of anything.
No, it was, yeah. We pretty much just caught up on a lot of sleep that we're missing out on.
And I wouldn't even say it was a lot of sleep. It was just regular sleep.
Regular sleep for most people.
Right.
A lot for us.
So that kind of ties into what we're going to talk about today, which is life after becoming parents. Because it is not for the weak, as the late and great David Arnold would say. Not for the weak. I think we both had expectations of like what kind of parents we would be and how life would look, but when you're living it, it's just completely different. So, for those who are listening for the first time and don't know us, we met in 2008, married in 2010. We had our first child in 2015 and our second in 2021. So we have currently a 7 and a 1-year-old. And it's a lot of work. So I know we have a age gap of almost 14 years, and life as we both envisioned it.
13 and a half.
13 years and 7 months. It's almost 14. That's the same thing.
Okay, but
Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? It's almost 14 years. You okay? Cramps?
I'm all right. Hey.
Okay. You want to be the old one all the time. You don't want to take your
Okay.
seniority like you're supposed to. Go ahead, lean into
but
it.
don't make it old. Don't make it more than what it is, though.
I said almost 14. What's the difference between 13 and a half and 14?
No, if it was 13 years and 8 months, then it'd be almost.
I'm not doing this with you. Okay? I'm not doing this. We're not doing the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s and arithmetic.
Yeah, you gotta get it right.
Whatever. I'm always right. Don't you know this?
No.
I'm not always right.
Why? I don't remember seeing you sitting on the right hand of God.
You one day either.
I never claimed to always be
Okay.
right.
But to you, I'm the closest thing to right in your life. Any smart husband would know to say that. You, however, less than. So, anywho.
I'm right just for. Never mind. Yeah, let's go back
Thank
to
you.
what we're talking.
Okay, thank
It's about
you.
to turn to a different podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sign them papers at the end of this podcast.
Okay, go. Let's start back when you.
Okay. So
13 and.
we're almost
years and-
14 years in age difference, like I said. And, of course, you had an idea of what your life would look like. Would you like to share that prior to the manifestation of moi, the most wonderful thing that's ever entered your life?
You're talking about my cat.
Me.
Oh. What my life was like?
No, what do you envision life would be like as far as your timeline of becoming a husband or having a family?
Oh, I thought I had been married and had kids years ago, probably a decade before I even met you.
Age range?
Well, maybe around 25, I thought I would have had it. 25, I guess. Maybe not quite a decade before I met you, but, earlier than what...
Mid-20s?
Mid-20s, yeah. Or married in my mid 20s, maybe having my first kid in my early 30s. That's what I envision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
It'll
many
work
kids
out
did
that
you want
way.
to have?
2. Always wanted
Oh
2.
my gosh, why is there such an emphasis on two?
2. 2. Because
Very
2,
aggressive
two's the
way to
magic.
say two.
2's the magic number.
Okay. If it's so magic, why are you being aggressive? Why are you saying it? Dang. Jesus. Okay. So for me, I always envisioned being a wife and a mother. I wasn't one of those girls that like grew up and was like, oh, I'm gonna have this dream fairy tale life, but I just knew that I wanted stability and I knew that I wanted kids and I knew I wanted these things in proper order. Um, I didn't want to be a baby mama and I didn't want to be a single mother, and I figured after watching the mistakes of my parents and just observing as a kid, um, I always knew that I wanted to have a marriage first and then have kids. I didn't really envision a timeline for it though. I was just like, whatever happens, happens. And I met you at 19 and, just kind of went from there. Married at 21. I would have never thought or imagined that, but.
But yeah, can't let a good thing go.
Yeah, you can't let a good thing go. Thank you. You're welcome.
I'm sorry I made you push up your plans.
I didn't have an idea of when my plans would be, but it just was what it was. And I think because I didn't really have an idea of that, it wasn't really a push up. It was just life as it happened. So I know that one big thing for us before having kids was like he was already at an age where he was ready to become a father.
I was ready, Jack.
And I actually didn't think you were as ready as you thought you were. I always told you like you ain't really about this life.
No, that's not what you're saying. You're saying you was telling me that I thought it was going to be easier than what it actually was.
Which is true. I think that you had this naive sense of like, oh, well, people do it all the time because they come from the projects and people are parents and people are mothers and they're single and it's easy and...
It's easy when...
Yeah.
Well...
Easy is not a word I would ever put in the vocabulary of parenting.
Well, it's easy for the father if there's a stay-at-home mom.
Really? You just sound like just... I can't believe you're still saying these things. But anywho, I don't know. Like, for me, I always just wanted to make sure that my heart was there. Of course, we had actual tangible plans. Like, we wanted to be settled in a certain place, be in a career that we could rely on and provide for our family and make sure we were financially stable, that we had so much money saved, and just those basic things as much as you can plan for. And then for me, I was just waiting on this, like, magical feeling, this wanting and to be a mother. I didn't want to rush that, and I was very clear about that, even with our age difference. I always expressed that to you, that I was not going to rush my life for you. I married on our terms. It was never your terms just because you were older. It was something we both agreed to and counseled with our pastor and his wife and got,
got right.
Yeah, we got right. We laid a proper foundation. So as young as I was getting married, we still had a very solid foundation to build from. And even so, marriage doesn't mean that I'm just automatically ready to have kids. So when we did come upon having like our first son, it was a huge role transition that we both entered. So I just kind of want to dive into that. Like, prior to us having kids, like, our lifestyle was pretty flexible.
Yeah.
We dated every week, like every single week.
We would do a lot of things, take trips.
Mm-hmm. Even if it was just a weekend trip.
Yeah, you would just pick up and go. Didn't have to worry about nothing.
Yeah, I think we made a lot of time for each other. I don't remember there being a week that we did not go out to eat or did not, like, do something together from the entire time we were together.
No, yeah, we were just almost, kept doing what we used to do when we were dating. Kept it going into being married,
Yeah.
and I still had time to be a gamer. Actually, play that PlayStation that has dust on it right now.
Yep. Dust and socks.
It
It's
sucks.
literally got socks on it right now. I don't know why that's the case, but you know, guy stuff. Yeah, I think that also like us continuing to date into marriage gave us a good foundation to prepare ourselves before we had kids because like I feel like if we didn't have that time to reflect back on that time that we spent together having fun and just enjoying each other that we probably would not be here. I think this would be toast. What do you think?
Well, we didn't have that time.
Yeah, because we had
Uh,
7 years, 2 years dating and 5 years of marriage before son entered the
uh
world.
it would be difficult. It would have been more having that time together helped for sure.
I think it would be a lot more tumultuous because it was already difficult, and we did
Yeah.
date. We dated a lot. We did date a lot. What were your expectations as far as maintaining our relationship, transitioning into becoming parents?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I really had any expectations about it. I was just kind of winging it, just taking it day by day. And,
Did you expect to be put on the back burner? Did you expect to have any momentary feelings of neglect, babies taking priority?
I probably didn't envision how much time having kids would take away from each other. No,
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't think that. Um, I thought um, maybe somehow we'd be able to squeeze more time more easily, but it didn't exactly work out like that easily. Being able to squeeze time with each other does not come easily. And maybe I envisioned before we had kids it would be easier than what it has been. It
Yeah.
hasn't been easy at all
Yeah, it's still not easy. I mean, we've been parents for 7 years now.
because we don't have. Maybe other people have the luxury of having a lot of family that they could trust around that we could just, you know, easily leave the kids with somebody, but that's not the case with us. There's very limited family members who we could trust to do that.
And there's also limited um, willingness on my part. Like I think
And that too.
that was something he didn't expect, and I didn't even anticipate. Was like, I don't want
When there
no.
is somebody willing to help us, she's unwilling to let them help.
All that base was unnecessary. I'm just saying. I didn't expect to like become a mom that I was just like so super protective of my child, but I think my own like trauma like surfaced when we had kids, and I just became super protective of my kids, and it didn't matter how seemingly trustworthy it was. I just like that's my baby, and I'm selfish, and I want to make sure that I'm the person that's making sure they're safe and overseeing their care, and I didn't want to share that very often. I still have a hard time with that. But like for me, I guess I didn't really expect for us to continue the way that we did before as far as like how often we dated, but I did expect for us to have some time regularly, and I think maybe like the advice I would give to people is to make a plan. I wish you would have just made a plan to take some time aside, maybe once a month, and kind of really plan for that, even if it was like a couple of hours or something, to try to have time together, guaranteed time together, instead of it being like, oh, we're just gonna sit in the living room and watch a TV show together, which I'm grateful for because we get to do that. But
Yeah.
it's also with kids around. So if we get to watch
Yeah.
something, it's with
It's with
kids
a
around.
kid hanging around somebody,
It's
one of
with
our necks. Yeah.
yeah, it's with a kid hanging around his neck and one on my boob. So it's never really an intimate like alone time. Um, But yeah, I guess I didn't really have like expectations of us dating and maintaining that measured up to what we are experiencing now as parents. But I do believe that those 7 years that we had together were essential because you may not have thought like, oh, it would have been difficult still, but I think it would have been over because I see people go for less, like where they become parents and they're no longer focused on each other,
Yeah.
and then they don't really have the foundation of like, oh, we spent all this time together, so we're good with not being able to for a while, and then they crave that, and then it's almost like this resentment builds because they don't have it, and they're like, well, if I don't have it, then I might as well just part ways.
Yeah. I mean, could have went that way too. Yeah, I'm not sure what would have happened.
I'm telling you right now, it wasn't gonna work.
Yeah. Well,
It wasn't gonna work.
there we go. We know it wouldn't have worked for you.
Devil's
I
advocate.
know.
Devil's advocate. Because I like to play this.
Oh man, you've been dying to play some sort of devil advocate.
I
game.
do, and only because we've been down this road. We almost didn't make it a couple times, maybe more than a couple times. But I know when it came to parenting, like if you haven't heard the previous podcast about it, I think our one about just our life update and life since 2020, we talk about that tumultuous time in our marriage after becoming parents. Um, that things did hit like a really, really bad patch to the point where I considered separating and eventually divorcing. Um, because our roles were just so different. We just kind of weren't on the same page. I was going through depression and he wasn't quite understanding what was happening. I mean, he had his own desires and needs that weren't being fulfilled and vice versa. So I think having our own laid foundation of that history has given us an advantage that maybe other people don't have if they just rushed into having kids.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any regrets about how we've managed our time since having kids?
I just think not really regrets, but maybe we could have tried harder to make more time, um, planned better. I mean, now with hindsight, you could say, "Oh, we could have done this better, could have done that better." But as things are going along, you know, just kind of just winging it, really. But yeah, I mean, we could definitely plan better. Just try to make time.
So, how often do you think would be healthy enough to maintain um, for us at this point in our lives where we have two kids and we say, hey, we really didn't date for 2 years. Like, I got pregnant right after our 10th wedding anniversary. Pregnancy was very tumultuous. I was very sick, and we were in a pandemic, and then we had a baby in a pandemic, and that's how we got here. So, 2 years, like, not dating. I think, like, that, it blew my mind to think about it because time just went so fast. But I was like, we really haven't. Have we gone out to eat? Yes, but there was always a kid there.
Yeah.
Have we had an overnight where our son was with my parents and I was pregnant with my daughter? But yeah, but I was exhausted. I was sick. Like, we weren't doing nothing. And so, I don't know. What do you think as far as like, how should we go moving forward to have maintained a healthy dating life?
We should let the grandparents help more when they offer to help. I'm not saying to, try to, some couples just want to drop the kids off with the grandparents every chance they get to go do whatever. No, I'm not saying that. But when, when the grandparents want to help and want the kids, it's trust them more to have the kids.
But the thing is, when they do, I let them go. I do. I think that they haven't dared ask with now that we have two kids because they know me. A face. They know me. So they don't they don't angst about it because they know
Listen,
me. I'm a
stop. There've
little.
been times that they've offered with just one kid. You've been hesitant to do it.
I'm getting better. What was the first time like that they watched both kids, and our
This
daughter
was
is
the
like
first
almost a
time
year
I
and a
watched
half.
them. Okay, but now that we gave them we had a little test run to see how they did. Watch two kids. Now maybe you'll feel more comfortable leaving two kids with them.
I know for me, like I always said, like I wanted to wait at least a year before.
These are the things we talk about. This is like I know the people who wouldn't even probably just drop their kids off to their parents without even asking. Hey, I'm leaving the kids with you. Bye.
Yeah, and
Not that that's right. I'm not saying that's right, but they don't even think about. They're not even afraid of letting their parents watch them. But
it's not even that I'm afraid. It's like all these things I have that I carry, and I'm like thinking about not necessarily just their safety. I don't know what it is. Like I just like very selfish with my kids. I don't know what it is.
I know it's like, well, no one can watch my kids better than me.
Well, that's true. That's definitely a thing.
So even though you're here,
I don't know.
you're alive. You and your brother are living.
We survived.
So, your mother did.
The Lord did it. The
Oh,
Lord did it. She was a vessel. Anywho, I don't know. You still haven't answered the question, which was how often, not whenever. How often do you think?
We would
How
have
often
to
would you
try different
How often would you
times.
like?
I would like at least twice a month.
Twice a month? That's a
Yeah,
lot.
every other weekend.
Every other weekend? Like, first of all, I'm not even off on the weekends all the time, but
Well, I say I would. That's what I said. I would like.
okay.
What I would like and what can actually happen are two different things.
I don't know. That just gave me anxiety. Would I like to spend time with you every other week? Yes. But I was just thinking about the other part with the kids not being here.
Well,
Maybe it should be a day thing.
it could be a day thing.
I don't know.
But when we have a chance, we should definitely.
So, let's switch gears. What was your expectations of me becoming a mother? And how did that differ from your expectations of me as a wife?
I didn't really have any expectations of you. You know,
I don't believe that's true.
you don't believe it's true.
No, I think that you absolutely should have expectations about who I am as a mother and what you desire the mother of your children to be. So let's just go back to basics. What attributes did you expect for me to display as a mother?
I didn't have any expectations.
That's bull.
Why are you saying this
Because
bull?
my expectations as you as a father, that's like saying that you don't know how you want the mother of your children to be.
Well,
What role do you want her to play in their lives? That's malarkey. So you're just not gonna say it? Okay, cool. I'll say what I expected of you because I got no problem putting it out there.
Goodness.
As far as what I expected of you, I expected you to be hands-on. I expect you to be just as in as I was. Dirty diapers, bathing, laundry. I expected 50-50 shared responsibilities as far as what you could do. I knew a lot of the burden was going to be on me as a mother because, just to breastfeed, just the things that involve my body that you can't do and can't share that responsibility. Pregnancy, healing, all that, laboring, all that stuff like that. It just takes a toll. I did fully expect for you to do as much as you possibly could do as my partner and as a parent. I expected you to be a doting, loving father. I knew that that's something you desired for a long time, and it was finally happening. And our first child being a boy was just even more so like the highlight for you. Um, so yeah, those are my expectations of you. Um, I just expect you to pick up my slack and to kind of know without me asking, which is really naive in hindsight. It's really naive for you to expect like you be a mind reader and kind of have this groove of like if I couldn't do it, then you would automatically pick up the slack without communicating it.
Yeah. Um, I think that was a problem early on. I didn't know exactly. I probably could have done better. Noticing what areas you were needing help in, and where I needed to pick up the slack, and maybe the communication wasn't as good as it could have been.
Yeah, and I think on my part, I know it wasn't, but because by the
Because I
time
was thinking everything was fine. You were like, "Why isn't he doing this?"
you also thought things were optional. You also had this thing where like if I asked you to do something, you thought like not now, it's optional, maybe I can do it later, like not right this minute. And I'm one of those people that like when I communicate with you what I need, or I ask you to do something, I expect you to like get on it pronto.
Because you need to snap your finger when you said it, and then I would have gotten the hint.
See, no, if I snapped my fingers when I said it, you'd have been like, oh, hell to the no, and I'm really not going to do it because you snapped your fingers.
Maybe you should have pulled the whip out the closet, and then I would have gotten the hint too.
No. Okay. I don't know. I think, do you have an idea now that I've kind of laid it out for you? What were your expectations of me?
I just, you fulfill all the expectations I had of what I would want the mother of my child to be.
Prior?
Yeah, prior. Prior to having kids? Yeah, I just wanted a woman that would, put put the needs of the child first and above her own needs, and you did that. You went above and beyond that. I mean, um, a loving mother who was going to nurture the child, and you did all that.
Okay. So you were talked earlier about like gender roles and what you would have liked for traditionally, which is, the mother stay home, watch the kid, and maintain the household, I guess.
In a perfect world, which doesn't
right.
exist.
Right.
Yes.
So, with that not being our life, I work just as much as you do. We contribute equally to the household, and both financially and like even with the roles that we play as far as like responsibilities. So, did that alter your, I guess, your fulfillment of being in the husband and the father role, because we kind of had to modernize things versus what your ideal dream was?
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's kind of how I wish it was, that I had the burden of working and just bringing home, the old fashioned thing, the man brings home the bacon, and not that I think a woman has to stay home or anything like that, but I always want to be the type of husband that would be able to give my wife the option to do that.
That's a good way to say it.
The option to do it, to stay home. In today's day and age, really with the way, without getting too much into economics and politics, it's just impossible. Very few people have that option. Where 60, 50, 60, 70 years ago, that was more commonplace. But
do you feel like that would solve a lot of the problems with managing time, managing, responsibilities between the two of us if it were ideally a traditional role?
I think so. I think think that that was a very having that type of dynamic in the past. I think really made strong families. Because I think that's an honorable thing for a woman to stay home and take care of the household, and it's a rough job. It's a job in itself, you know. I don't think a woman who chooses to stay home and raise kids and take care of the household that she has an easy life. That's hard stuff.
And I think it's so hard that I never ideally wanted it for myself.
Yeah.
I think there are moments where I'm like, dang, I wish I didn't have to go to work and I wish I could dedicate more time. But I also know that I have my own personal desires and fulfillments that I need outside of these roles. I don't want it to become my full identity. And I know a few stay at home mothers, and that is just one of those things that is just really hard not to let happen, is not to let that consume you and be your only role as a wife and a mother. And then I think we see this trend often when people are divorcing and they're just like, I got to rediscover myself because I lost myself. And I've always been very afraid of that aspect. So as much as I do agree with you about it being super honorable, one of the hardest jobs in the world, and I do both kind of, because I work at night and I have my kids during the day, so I really do kind of do the stay-at-home mom thing. I just don't get rest, even less than a stay-at-home mom does. But so what did you learn growing up about wanting to be the husband and father that you are today, or that you ideally want to be? What did you see growing up? Like, what was your family dynamics?
I kind of saw it both ways growing up, where my mother was home. Maybe when I was very young, she was a stay-at-home mom. Then when my parents separated, then she was my mother, separated, and then eventually went on to remarry. Then she was kind of she talking about the mid '80s, and didn't have the option to really stay home anymore. She had to work, so I got to see a little bit of both of how it was to be raised by a mother who was a stay-at-home mom and a mother who had to work.
That's an interesting perspective, because I have questions now about how was that for you, watching your mother go from being at home and then working. Like, did you feel the change in as far as how she cared for you? Did you feel like you missed her being at home?
I think I felt better when she was at home.
Yeah.
Because I was walking myself home from school by the third grade. So
in New York City.
In New York City, yes.
Which just blows my mind. Like, I can't even relate. I can't even
imagine.
imagine.
A lot of kids did that, because by then, and this is the mid '80s. This is going in the early '80s to mid '80s. Both parents by that time, most of them anyway, had to start working, because just the cost of living went up tremendously, and then the options for women to stay home became fewer and fewer for the majority of families. But it was an adjustment. I got used to it. I was a pretty not to toot my own horn, I was a pretty bright kid, so well, most parents probably wouldn't even let their kids do that nowadays. But
did you feel like you had to grow up too fast, though?
No.
You say no, but I feel like you just had
because
this dynamic where you didn't really get to be like a child.
No, because I think even generations before me, the kids were walking themselves home and doing the same thing too. My grandparents, I'm sure, walked themselves home at a very young age. Probably even started working way earlier than what I did.
Did you have to start cooking your own meals?
Yes,
making hot
I
lunches?
was probably by 8 years old. I was already knew how to my way around the stove without burning down the house.
Well,
Yeah, I make simple stuff on the stove, nothing complicated.
did you have the responsibility of caring for your younger brother?
I had to, yes, yes. My brother was 2 years younger than me, and I had to be the one in charge.
Yeah. So, as outside of your own personal household, like, what was your grandparents? I know your grandfather was like pretty much your father. He played the manly role and this stable manly role in your life. So, what was the dynamic as far as what you saw your grandfather and his marriage with your grandmother and their life as parents?
Excuse me. Well, my I always grew up. My grandparents had a lot of ups and downs in their marriage, like most marriages, but I never really saw it. Well, some of it, but a lot of their major problems I was just told about because I was too young to know what was going on. But growing up, I always saw them as I was always amazed that they were together, and I always envisioned myself of having a wife who I would be, married to that long as my grandparents were.
And they lived out their vows till death.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
What was the
They
roles
they
of
stayed
between
married. I can't.
your
I don't remember the exact amount of years they were married, but
what were the roles as far as like was your grandfather the sole breadwinner and your grandmother stayed
no.
home?
I know I say that, but they both had to work, even back in the 50s or 60s.
I know for me, I grew up in a single parent home. I never had the father in the home, and my parents split very early when I was young, so I don't really remember. And it was just my mother for some time because my biological father was incarcerated from the time that I was 3 to 13. And that's straight time, so 10 years straight. And so I didn't have a male in the household primarily. It was just dating relationships and whatnot over the years. But um, for me, I had a different dynamic, and so what I saw was this pattern of unsatisfaction because things were done out of order. I kept seeing this role of like the mother being left to pick up the pieces because, and this wasn't just in my household, it's just within my family, and just what I witnessed growing up was just this pattern of, you know, either you have kids unexpectedly, then, oh, that's crap, we got to get married. And then we're trying to now make this work, and it's hard because we didn't really prepare for this. So eventually it just doesn't work. There was a broken system that tried to fix it and it just didn't work. So I knew for me, I took that as okay, having kids before you're ready doesn't work. Um, Having kids before you're ready and then trying to make the relationship permanent because you have kids doesn't work. And so I knew that order wasn't safe. And so for me, it helped me even more so understand that I wanted to ideally do these things in God's order. I ain't saying we did everything in God's order, but at least we got the marriage thing down. We got the kids thing down.
Yeah.
And I knew that it was safer that way. It was less disappointment. I would build a better foundation for my kids. I would build a better foundation for a relationship to be long lasting. And for I think majority of my family were single family homes, with the mothers being the sole providers. And I always admire the work ethic because I have a lot of great work ethic in my family. And the only thing that I think that I saw the lack in was nurture. Because when you have to play both roles and you have to be the only parent, something's going to lack. And I think there was a lack in nurture. So for me, becoming a mother, nurture was so important. So important. And I think that's also why I'm so protective of my children as far as like letting them go, because my nurture game is strong. My
Yeah.
nurture game is real strong. I really, really um, had intention on planning both of my kids because I wanted them to know that they were desired. I want to be able to tell them, hey, I desired you before I even thought to bring you into this world. I prepared for you, I planned for you, all these things. Do you feel like you were prepared for to see me go through?
No, I wasn't prepared.
Do you feel like you weren't prepared because you didn't have like a circle or anybody to tell you like, hey, these things are gonna happen?
No, no one told me jack. You tell me nothing. He's like, hey, listen, your wife can go bonkers, because
I went bonkers? Really?
I didn't say you went bonkers. I'm saying, but I'm not saying you went bonkers. I was just joking, but I'm saying then no one ever said, hey, wife could be, go through what's the term? Postpartum. No one talked to me about that. No, I had no idea about that. Any idea about the postpartum depression and how it could severely affect, some women. No one gave me a heads up. What's up with that? Hey, congratulations, you have a kid. All right. The end. Like, hey, it's good you have a kid, but your wife could be a chance she has postpartum depression. So watch out for that. Just, make sure you brace yourself for that. Be there, support her, do this. No, none of that.
So, what's your advice to potential fathers?
Just make sure that postpartum depression probably is going to sneak up without any warning.
What signs do you think that you missed?
Maybe I missed, and then I think your postpartum depression was made more severe just from your lack of sleep.
Mm.
So that was compounding it. That sure didn't help. Maybe other people might get
So sleep
better
deprivation.
sleep deprivation, right? On top of the postpartum was definitely not a good mixture. Yeah, and be more proactive. I think that's the number one thing I probably would have, if I could do it over, I would have done. Been more proactive. Maybe not wait for you to tell me what you needed help with. Maybe I should have just looked around more and said, okay, what needs to be done, and just been more proactive with it. Um, I was too much in guy mode, and you know, when your wife has a kid, don't wait for things to start piling up and wait for your wife to start asking you to do this or that or get agitated. Just be more proactive.
Okay.
That's the word of the day, proactive.
I agree. I agree. You learned some things. And it definitely showed up when we had our second child because you were so like protective of me and my mental state, and are you sure, do you want this, and are you okay, and like it even from pregnancy because I was so
Yeah,
sick.
because I learned from the first.
Yeah, definitely showed up differently with our second child, and I think we're still learning, like, because the dynamic is so different with having two kids versus one.
It's not easy,
It definitely isn't easy. So
but it's rewarding.
absolutely, I wouldn't change it. um I can't imagine like not having our kids. I especially because with emphasis on our second child, because I, I for so long I said no. I said I don't want to have another kid. Like I'm good with
She
this
didn't want
one.
another kid. She didn't want a hamster. She didn't want nothing.
I wanted a guinea pig. I wanted a guiney pig.
Okay, she wanted a guinea pig,
I didn't
not
want
a
a dog.
hamster.
I still don't.
She wanted a dog.
Yeah.
But she wanted a guinea pig.
Yeah, I wanted a guinea
She wanted a
pig.
rat.
Yeah, that too.
No, the guinea pig is the rat.
No,
It's just a
no.
fat rat. A
Mm-mm.
rat with an eating problem, that's all.
Whatever. It's not the definition of a guinea pig is a rat with an eating problem. Wow.
It's my definition.
I don't know. I mean, all in all, we're winging it. We're doing okay. We're managing. I think that like we've maintained the love better this time around. Like, just I think we had lacked a lot the first time because we were just so ingrained in like whatever was going on with us individually that we weren't really necessarily paying attention to each other. And I'm just like, I'm over here doing this. I got all this stuff to do. I ain't got time to worry about you. I know that was me. That was me.
Yeah, it was you.
Yeah. And I think you were just trying to maintain you and the things that you like to do.
Yeah. I learned to live without some things.
Yeah.
Just
It sounds so depressing. I don't think we're like convincing people to do this parenting thing.
No, listen. Listen. When you have kids, there's certain things you have to sacrifice. Things you used to do, you could like I mentioned, I used to be into video gaming. I can't do it like I used to do it. I still do it, but most of my gaming is on the phone, not on the actual playing on a console, a gaming console.
Oh my gosh, you sound like you're saying counsel. You're such a New
I'm not
Yorker.
saying console.
You used counsel. It's your accent.
I'm playing a freaking video game machine, right? Is that
Video
better?
game machine.
Freaking PlayStation here.
Tony Soprano over here.
So I still game, but it just has to be on the phone. I can't enjoy the PlayStation. Every now and then I blow the dust off the PlayStation. I fire it up, but it just can't be like it used to. Cause unless you want to have kids hanging off the controller trying to play a game.
Do you grieve that? Do you feel like you had to grieve it?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been playing video games since the Atari 2600. It's
I
hard.
love when he sounds like a fossil.
I never outgrew it.
But you don't want me to emphasize on this for almost 14-year age difference, but you want to talk about the Atari.
Listen.
Okay.
What about it?
I don't know. I don't necessarily grieve maybe the same things in the same way. I definitely enjoy, like, to me, my ideal free time now is really, like, either getting sleep or having time to, like, get into the Word of God or, like, have a Bible study, like, the things that center me. And so usually, like my free time in the car on the way to work, like, that's the only time by myself. And so either I'm going to listen to worship music or listen to a podcast or something, or just have that little bit of time for me. But I do think that, like, as far as the things that I liked about myself that were somewhat feminine or girly, like doing my nails, stuff like that, like having time to kind of put more effort into that, I do miss that. Like, I do miss those things and about myself, and whatnot. I don't know. I feel like because our kids are small, like, it's just a temporary thing, and we'll get it back eventually. I know that at this point, I don't feel like there's anything about being parents that can devastate us to the point where we say, I can't do this. Not at this point. I think that we've kind of gone to the edge of the cliff and then figured out that that's not really what we wanted to do. So, I don't know. What would it take? 'Cause I like to play devil's advocate. What would it take to catapult this thing and make it a hard not gonna do this life?
Thermonuclear war. I don't know.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, I mean, just take something pretty catastrophic and out of this world.
Yeah. I think that our next challenge as parents is going to be when our kids are growing up a little bit older and, like, our dynamics, because we grew up so different. As far as like I'm from the South and
She's
he's
from
from
the country. I'm from the city.
I'm not from the country. I'm from Austin.
Well, from everyone
Texas.
from New York, that's the city. That's the country. I mean,
The Austin is not the
that's
country.
country to me.
Okay, whatever. But we grew up, different, ideal, learning things that, for me and in the South and like, you know, a little more proper down here and you little more gangster up in New York. So I think our next challenge as parents is like gonna be instilling like those practices and principles in our kids. And because we grew up differently, you just may not agree on how that is
Grew up with different cultures.
different cultures, and I think mine is better. That's all. I just think mine is better. That's all. We're nicer. We're a little bit more mannerable.
More, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. Ain't no pops. Ain't no ma. You know.
Oh man.
That's like seen as disrespectful down here.
No,
we have some different cultural differences. That's another podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about people who are huckleberries and people who ain't huckleberries.
I'm not a huckleberry. First off, I'm not a huckleberry.
The next podcast will be like, what do you do if you're a Yankee? You marry a...
Call me go ahead. Stop calling me a huckleberry.
Huckleberry from the South.
Oh my gosh. And it's funny because I used to like swear off.
She don't even sound like she's from the South, right?
I don't understand why that's like such a thing for you.
She's from Texas, but she don't sound
because
like she's from Texas.
Because I'm from the city. I'm from Austin.
You ain't from Austin.
I am from Austin.
You grew up in the suburbs of Austin.
You know what? I grew up in Austin and I moved to the outskirts of Austin my last 4 years.
She ain't from Austin.
No, whatever. Yeah, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. You're not going to try to denounce my Texas residency.
No, you from Texas. Here. You from Texas.
You're not from here. You're a transplant. You're the reason why we got
I don't know where you sound
all
like
these property taxes rising up like crazy, why the Travel Channel can't get up out our faces and stop broadcasting all of our cool stuff so everybody keep moving here.
Don't move to Texas.
Thank you.
It's horrible here.
We're staying. Y'all just don't come. Just don't come. We don't got no more room.
There's more space in California.
We're not taking down any more pecan trees for y'all. Leave them be. Okay. I think we done wore ourselves out with this conversation. We good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. We talk to y'all later. Bye.
Peace.